Well, we start in the world of technology, and if you've followed this industry for any length of time, you'll know it's a space where huge numbers, astronomical valuations, and super rich tycoons are almost the norm. But today we're talking about something that has broken even those lofty standards. The spotlight is on veteran tech boss Larry Ellison, the founder and top shareholder of the software giant Oracle, who has just experienced one of the most remarkable single-day increases in personal wealth ever recorded. His net worth surged by a staggering $70 billion in a single trading day. Yes, you heard that correctly. $70 billion added in just one day after Oracle reported explosive revenue growth once the Wall Street bell rang. Growth that was largely fueled by skyrocketing demand for cloud computing power to run artificial intelligence workloads. That incredible leap catapulted Ellison's net worth to $364 billion, according to Bloomberg's Billionaires Index, officially making it the largest one-day jump in personal fortune ever seen in modern financial history. To put that into perspective, the gap between him and Elon Musk, the man who currently holds the crown as the richest person in the world, has now narrowed to a mere $20 billion, with Musk sitting at about $384 billion. Suddenly, the possibility of Larry Ellison overtaking Musk to become the richest person alive isn't just speculation, it's something that could happen in the blink of an eye if Oracle continues on its current trajectory or if Tesla stock wobbles. And yet, while these numbers are astonishing, the sheer size of this sudden wealth jump also stirs new fears in financial circles that the ongoing artificial intelligence craze, which is inflating the valuations of any company tied to cloud infrastructure, generative AI, or large language models, may be moving too quickly and could eventually prove to be a bubble. When we talk about bubbles, the memory of the early 2000s dot-com collapse inevitably comes to mind, and one man who had a ringside seat to that turbulent period is Russ Mould, investment director at AJ Bell and a seasoned market watcher. Russ pointed out that while Larry Ellison is widely known as one of the most resilient and innovative figures in Silicon Valley, it's important to remember that Oracle itself has not always been a cloud-first company. In fact, for decades it was best known as one of the world's leading business software providers, creating highly profitable database software and enterprise solutions that powered corporations worldwide. It's a company that, despite market swings, became a cornerstone of the enterprise technology stack. But what has investors buzzing now is not the legacy database software that made Oracle famous. It's the company's pivot into data centers, high-capacity servers, and cloud computing services that can provide the raw horsepower needed to train and run massive artificial intelligence models. These aren't small orders either. Oracle has flagged multi-billion-dollar contracts with companies that are household names in AI and tech, including none other than OpenAI, which sits at the forefront of the generative AI movement, as well as partnerships with Microsoft and other major players. The company now claims it has a backlog of $455 billion in future business commitments, which is roughly 7 times its current forecast annual revenue, a backlog so massive that it gives Oracle both stability and explosive growth potential in one package. When a company can announce that kind of pipeline, it's no wonder investors are flooding in and driving up its stock price. And with Ellison holding such a dominant stake, his wealth scales upward at an unprecedented rate. Larry Ellison himself is an endlessly fascinating figure, someone who has been in the upper echelon of global wealth rankings for decades, yet always seemed to come in second. Back in the 80s, he was trailing behind Bill Gates during the height of Microsoft's dominance. And even now, despite his incredible fortune, he is still a few steps shy of overtaking Musk. His journey is the stuff of business legend. Born in New York and raised in Chicago, Ellison dropped out of college, moved to California, and built Oracle into one of the most formidable tech companies on Earth. He has always carried a larger-than-life persona, not just in business but in his hobbies as well. Known for his love of speed and luxury, he famously flew fighter jets and sailed cutting-edge yachts as weekend pastimes, indulgences that only billionaires can afford. Yet behind that lifestyle is a relentlessly competitive entrepreneur who built Oracle into a powerhouse capable of surviving the highs and lows of multiple tech cycles. Oracle's stock did soar and then crash during the dot-com bubble, but unlike many firms that disappeared entirely, it recovered and thrived, eventually becoming one of the core survivors of that turbulent era. Russ Mould, reflecting on these cycles, drew an important comparison between what we are seeing now with AI and what we saw in previous speculative booms. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, the internet itself was the new revolutionary technology, an idea so groundbreaking it seemed indistinguishable from magic to many. Investors piled into companies simply because they had a .com in their name, often without sustainable revenue models. Eventually, reality set in and the bubble burst, wiping out trillions of dollars in paper wealth, but leaving behind the foundation for the internet economy we know today. Similar bubbles occurred in earlier decades as well, such as the Nifty 50, stocks of the 1970s, and the conglomerate craze of the 1960s. The pattern is remarkably consistent. A new technology or idea captures the imagination, capital floods in, valuations rise beyond reason, and then at some point the expectations become so inflated they collapse under their own weight. The concern today is that artificial intelligence could be following this script. Right now, AI is at the peak of its hype cycle, with investors racing to pour money into anything connected to it, from chipmakers like NVIDIA to cloud service providers like Oracle to the AI software firms themselves. When we see huge sums of money and valuations expanding at this pace, there's always a risk of overreach. The Magnificent Seven, the group of mega cap tech companies driving much of the US stock market's growth, now account for about a third of total US market capitalization and roughly a fifth of global market capitalization. That kind of concentration of wealth and influence in just a handful of firms is historically unusual and tends to make markets vulnerable. If even one or two of those companies falter, the ripple effect across the global economy could be severe. As Russ Mould noted, high growth expectations often create their own anchor. In other words, the very optimism that propels these companies to astronomical valuations also sets the stage for disappointment if even the smallest cracks appear. Warren Buffett's old wisdom that you don't find out who's swimming naked until the tide goes out applies here. Yet, despite these warnings, it's undeniable that Larry Ellison's ability to position Oracle at the very heart of the AI revolution demonstrates not only business acumen, but also remarkable timing. Few would have predicted 5 years ago that Oracle, often seen as a traditional enterprise software firm, would reinvent itself as one of the leading suppliers of cloud computing infrastructure for AI. And few would have predicted that Ellison, once thought of as a legacy billionaire from a bygone era of tech, would be back in contention for the title of world's richest person in 2025. That kind of reinvention is rare, and it underlines how quickly fortunes can change in technology. For investors, it raises the question, are they witnessing sustainable growth built on genuine demand, or are they caught up in another speculative fever that will end in painful corrections? Ultimately, Larry Ellison's $70 billion one-day windfall is more than just a record-breaking headline. It's a symbol of the extraordinary moment we are living through, a moment where artificial intelligence is no longer just a research project or futuristic concept, but a force that is reshaping industries, markets, and personal fortunes at unprecedented speed. The scale of these shifts is breathtaking, but the lessons of history remind us to balance excitement with caution.